Tidbit Tuesday. Hi guys, it's Tidbit Tuesday. I love live video. We're still getting used to this whole process. I'm Heather Jones.
I'm Autumn Flores.
And we're with Grow Learning. And today we're going to talk about the top 5 objections in the multifamily industry and how to overcome them. So number 1, first and foremost,
price. So pricing, as you know, is the number 1 biggest objection that you're going to get at your apartment community from your prospective residents. And how you want to overcome the price is first, from the time you first book that appointment on the phone, you want to build that value from the very beginning before you give them the price. And then when you get them to your community, you're going to highlight all of the value that your community has to offer. Highlight the amenities, highlight the models, highlight the grounds, highlight any upgrades you have, anything that you know is important to them, you're going to want to highlight, so you've built so much value that the price doesn't even matter to them in the end. And if it does matter in the end, which sometimes it still does, you want to remind them that if they sacrifice some of their needs and wants that your community has to offer them, in a year from now when their lease is up somewhere else that may be a little less expensive, they're probably going to be unhappy and probably going to want to move in a year from now. So remind them about that price that they're going to spend in a year from now to move all over again, and how those costs add up, and spending maybe $10 or $20 extra a month is really going to be worth it in the long run for them to get something that they really want.
Yeah, and also with regard to price, you know, if you've asked the pertinent questions when you're doing your information gathering, and you really find out the core reason for why price is so important, you know, you might be able to give your prospect tips on how they could save money in other areas with their moving costs or whatnot. You know, or maybe your property could give a moving discount or something like that to knock off, you know, $500 or so of their moving costs. That could sort of you know, balance out what they're going to be spending for this amazing apartment that you have for them. So, and talk it through with your other team members about the price objections that they're getting and how you can overcome them together. And talk with your manager about, you know, potentially, you know, waiving an application fee or waiving their security deposit or something along that line to help counteract the price objection as well. And
I think it's important to not sound hesitant. Once you get to finally that price and you feel inside that it's a little expensive, don't say, when they ask for the price, don't say, well, it's $1,100. Say, oh my gosh, it's $1,100. Isn't that amazing? You want to build that up. Don't sound hesitant in the price, because it's going to make them uncomfortable. And if you bring it up to the positive thing, they're going to be like, wow, yeah, that's great. That's a great price.
Right, and also, if you don't believe in the value of your community, the prospect's not going to believe in it either. So if you feel like your apartments are too expensive, you need to get over that, and you need to work through your presentation skills. So number 2, size and layout is a big objection too. Like maybe you only have 2 bedrooms and they want a 3-bedroom, or potentially you know, they need to make sure that the bedroom is big enough to fit their king size bed in, but you happen to know for a fact that only a queen size bed is going to fit in your 2-bedroom apartment. Well, what do you do about that? You feel like, I don't know if there's anything I can do. Well, there is something you can do. You know, first of all, like I said, during your information gathering, make sure you're asking the pertinent questions. What's really important to you? And if it's really important for them to have their king size bed fit into this apartment, then we're going to have to get a little creative. But, you know, let's say, for example, their king size bed, you know, for sure is not going to fit in this 2-bedroom. Well, potentially you could talk to your manager about maybe offering some type of a discount at the local furniture store, or giving a gift certificate to where maybe they could buy a queen size bed for this particular apartment, because they really love the location. They really love this management company. They really love you know, where your apartment community is located within the city, and they really want to live there, but it's this king size bed that keeps getting into the way. Or potentially you could offer them, you know, a discount on a storage unit. If your property has storage units, you could offer them a discount to store their king size bed, and maybe go so far as to buy them, you know, a queen size mattress. You never know. You can ask these questions to your manager to see, you know, if this objection keeps coming up over and over and over again, you're going to have to figure out a way to get past it. And again, collaborate with your other team members. I mean, what do you think?
Getting creative, yeah, absolutely. We're offered to, walk in there and physically move yourself around and kind of show them how they can maybe fit other furniture in there, put their dresser in the closet. If the dresser would be the issue, it doesn't fit. You've got to get creative, especially if it's, like Heather said, something that's a common issue for your community or that particular model, that people that mostly have king size beds. You've got to kind of get around that. But do not take them there if you aren't prepared to combat that objection, because then you're going to be standing there and saying, well, no, you're right, it's not going to fit, and you're not going to have an answer, and you're not going to be well prepared. So it's really important that you are well prepared and well educated on how to handle those objections before you take someone up to something that they already told you wasn't going to work for them.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. If somebody walks into the office and says, I want to see a 2-bedroom, and you're just trying to, fly through your leasing tours, and you just take them off to the model, and you really haven't done your information gathering, once you get there, all those objections are going to start flying at you, and you're just going to be, flustered and not really know what to say. Whereas if you had asked the questions to begin with, you would have known not to take them to that 2-bedroom, but to take them to this other 2-bedroom with a den or something along that line that really fits their needs. So it really behooves you to spend at least 10 to 15 minutes with each prospect in the beginning before their tour, asking about what's really important. What do they really need? Now if you know they need a 2-bedroom and you only have 1-bedrooms right now, put them on a waiting list. Go ahead and get their application secured, get their application ran, have them ready, locked and loaded whenever that 2-bedroom comes available. And they really want to live in your community, keep in contact with them, make sure they know they're on this list, call them every couple of weeks and say, let them know, hey, I've got somebody that's moving out. You should have virtual tours of all of your different floor plans, either in picture format or actually in video format. You need that type of information available all the time, so that when you don't have a particular floor plan available to see, you can show somebody a video, you can show somebody a layout, and you can kind of give them a mental picture of what it looks like. So, number 3,
competition.
Yes.
And specials. Everyone's offering something bigger and better than you, it seems, in your community. So you are going to get a lot of objections regarding, well, the people next door, or the people down the street, or they're offering this, or they're giving away 2 months free rent, or they're giving away this, can you guys give me that? And they're shopping for the best price and the best special. But at the end of the day, again, you've got to realize that deep down, the price isn't really, even though they're saying it's the most important, it's really not always the most important thing. They really want to feel happy with their decision. They want to feel comfortable in their community. They want, whether it's a huge apartment or great amenities, the price is just an easy objection for people to say all the time. It's an easy out all the time. So you've got to be well aware what your communities are doing, or what your competitors are doing, what they're offering, what specials they're offering. You need to be fully educated every single morning of what your competitors are offering, so you know how to handle that objection. And it's also really important to ask them, okay, well, what drew you to our community? What do you love about our community versus the competitors? You want to remind them of that value and why your community is so great and why you don't need to offer 2 months free rent.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I always think about one of the leasing consultants that I used to work with 1,000 years ago. His name was Brian Martin, and I'm going to find you and I'm going to send you this video. But he used to keep a book of competition. He had their brochures, he had their specials. He knew more about his competitors than they knew about their own properties. And if somebody would, say, hey, I want to look at that other property down the street, he'd say, okay, let me sit down with you. Let me show it to you right now. And he'd pull up their website and he'd pull out their brochure and he'd say, okay, I've seen this apartment and this is good. They've got this great amenity and they do this well. And so the prospect would leave. He'd say, okay, now go take a look, have fun. Let me know when you come back. I'll be ready for you to sign a lease. He wasn't afraid of the prospect going to see the competition because he knew exactly what they had, and he knew that he could provide something better, that their property could provide something different. And so you've got to know all about your competition. And, don't be shady shopper and go over there and pretend to be looking for an apartment. Give them a call.
Be friends with them.
Be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let them see your property and share information, because collectively, you and your competition can build up your submarket rather than letting your competition bring down your submarket. And so, then
if you don't have a sister community within your management company around the corner, you guys can, if you're out of 1-bedrooms and they're out of 2s, you can refer each other back and forth to each other. It's, even though you're competition, you still are working together for the same goal. And if you, obviously you want to refer people to sister communities, but if that's not an option, become friends with the leasing agent next door and refer people when you guys are out of 2-bedrooms for the next 4 months, or get to know them, because the more you get to know them, the friendlier they're going to be with you, and they're going to refer people to you too. What I also think is really important that I did when I worked on site is enhancing the features that you have that your competitors don't have. So if you know that they don't have any Roman tubs, and enhance that sucker when you're in the model. Go in the bathroom and be like, look at this big tub. Don't you just want to come home and relax in this tub with your Lush bath bomb? They're going to be like, yeah, I do, because I don't remember seeing this next door. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to say, well, they don't have this next door, but you know inside what your communities have. So enhance every single thing you have that they're maybe lacking on.
Exactly. And also, it sucks. I'll just go ahead and say it, when you have a lease up next door, and they're brand new property and they're offering 3 months free rent. It just kills me every time. And I've been on both sides, and you have too. And what do you do in a situation like that? Well, like Autumn said, you've got to know what you guys have to offer, and you've got to enhance that conversation, and you have to remind people that there might be problems with lease ups. I hate to say that because I've done a lot in my day, but there's a lot of working out the kinks, so to speak, and they might have building issues, or they might have to live in construction for the next 6 months,
and they don't usually have community cultures yet.
Yes.
So if someone that has already expressed interest in how your community is and what events you do, or just someone that is going to be drawn to that stuff, you're already going to have that community set. You're already going to have your resident functions set, and a lease up is they're going to be living there by themselves for a while. So, know who you're talking to.
And that brings up a great point. Let's skip to number 5, which is reputation management.
Yes. Yeah. So go ahead. Do you want to start?
Well, like I was going to say, if you're at an already established property, you probably have already great online reviews.
Yeah. Online reviews are really important, as especially millennials. That is the first thing they do, even if it's just where they're going to breakfast. They go online and read the reviews first if they've never been there before. And they're doing that, obviously, for the most important thing in their life, which is where they're going to live. And how you respond to reviews is very important. But when a resident or prospective resident comes in and says, I really loved you guys when I drove by, and this looks great, but gosh, I read your reviews last night, and you guys don't have the best reviews. Some of them are pretty terrible. How are you going to respond to that? Well, you've got to be prepared. Your community and your team has to have a plan in place on how to respond to reviews from the beginning to the end, and how to make sure that it doesn't ruin your reputation. And you've got to let that prospective resident know, hey, listen, I know we don't have the best reviews online, but we've got a plan in place from the beginning to the end, and we take them very seriously, and they're really important to us. And I do want you to know that we respond to them instantly and address them and take care of them head on. And anything that you see or you're concerned about, just ask us personally, and we'll be happy to address it with you. And they know people are leaving reviews. Most of the people, even though they're reading them, they know that it's usually the disgruntled people that are leaving reviews, sometimes not. But that's unfortunately how it is in multifamily, and usually they know that. They just want to know that you're actually listening. But if they go online and see all these bad reviews and no responses to these reviews from the management company, that's not going to look so great to them. Whereas if you're responding positively and not defensively publicly online, they're going to be like, okay, they are addressing these and they are responding.
And online reviews are sometimes a clear indicator of what the top objections are at your property. Because people are complaining about maintenance potentially, or your service, or the office is never open, or every time I call I get this answering service. So it's a big indicator of some opportunities to improve at your community. So the 5th and final one is apartment location and various apartment features. So let's say somebody wants an apartment that overlooks the pool, and you only have a 2-bedroom available that overlooks the dumpster. Or, potentially they want gas cooking and you only have electric cooking, or, your community doesn't come with microwaves or something along that line. So as Autumn kind of stated earlier, you have to be prepared for these objections and be ready for every single one. And what I would do is you and your leasing team should go through every single apartment you have and think like a prospect. And what are going to be your objections? Because if you wouldn't live there for this particular reason, somebody else isn't going to live there either for that exact same reason. And how could you overcome the objection for yourself, and come up with those tips? So, for example, there's only an apartment available over the dumpster. Well, rather than ignoring that objection, you need to be prepared to answer it right off the bat. And while I don't encourage you to bring up the objection itself, just know that as you're walking that particular apartment, that it's likely going to come up, well, I really wanted an apartment overlooking the pool. Well, I understand you really wanted that apartment overlooking the pool, but I've got this other great apartment that I'd really love to show you. It's in a little bit more quiet area of the community, and it, I think you might find that, it's a little bit more peaceful than, overlooking the pool, or something along that line. You need to definitely talk about the positives, or maybe this particular apartment has something that the apartment overlooking the pool doesn't have, or maybe a different color scheme, or maybe you want to offer them the option to paint that apartment, or maybe give them a gift certificate for furniture, like I said earlier, or have something ready and available that you can offer to them as a way of counteracting the fact that it's not over the pool. What do you think?
Yeah, and you've got to make sure that when you take them to that apartment, that it smells fresh and it looks clean and there are no dead bugs, and it is the shiniest, sparkliest, fresh apartment that you've got at your community when you're going to go take them to that one. You can't walk into that knowing it's maybe not a desirable location and there's 2 dead roaches when you walk in, and it's dusty and the blinds are drawn and it's dark and droomy and it doesn't smell great. It smells musky. So you need to be in there every single morning knowing that it's a location that you need to be enhancing every single day. So when you go there, it's bright as it can be, and it smells good and it looks great. Otherwise, you're going to ruin that first impression instantly, and it's just going to go, they're going to be like, oh, well, this is not good. We're not going to take this one.
And it's likely that the apartment over the dumpster is a little less expensive than the one overlooking the pool. And you could offer them a 6-month lease at the one that's overlooking the dumpster with the intent of transferring them into one that overlooks the pool in 6 months, maybe at a little more expensive price. So like I said, you got to get creative and sit down, talk with your teams, discuss all the objections, get your maintenance teams involved. They know the objections. They're out there, servicing apartments and hearing what the residents are really saying. So give them a chance to be involved in this process too and make it fun.
Yeah, and your grounds too, bringing up maintenance, have to look great at those locations as well, that maybe you're not by the pool or in the back, or if it's something not desirable. So you need to make sure your maintenance team is also aware, although everything should be great, that those areas as well are not being forgotten and they don't look like they belong in the back of the community.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah, great ways, great objections, you guys.
Yes.
Hope you enjoyed today's Tidbit Tuesday.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.